And on that note, our very first recipe up for grabs today. I mean, nothing is as hearty as a bowl of stew. And what better way to repurpose your leftover mincemeat than by making some meatballs? But wait, there's more. You can then turn those meatballs into a winter warmer bowl of delicious stew. And today, we'll show you exactly how to do that. So, Dumi, this sounds easy peasy, but something that is definitely filling.
Yes, Palisa, and the one thing I love about it is that it is so economical, and you can use whatever mince you've got in your house. Today we're using mince. You can make stew with any meat, but I'm loving the fact that we are repurposing a very simple, very economical, and very undervalued ingredient. Don't you think, Chef?
Yeah, these times are very tough now with the whole COVID happening.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, you got a budget cook is the best thing to do, huh?
Awesome. So to start it off, Palisa, I've got some mince here. I've also got some breadcrumbs, egg, onion, some mixed herbs. I've also got some milk, some seasonings, cumin, tomatoes. Chef, you're going to cut up the potatoes for us. So you can cut them into nice big chunks, well, not too big, like cubes. And then, Bala, you can just chop up the carrots for us, as well as chop up some garlic for me. And then all of this is basically going to go into our mixture over here. But to start it off, I need to make the meatballs first. So all I'm going to do is I'm putting in some breadcrumbs. I'm going to put in my egg as well, some finely chopped onions. The reason we finely chop that is, obviously, you don't want it to overpower the mince, but you also want to make sure that it cooks quickly because it's in a meat mixture. Some herbs, some salt, and a little bit of milk. Chef, I don't know what other ingredients you would put into...
Normally, sometimes, just to keep the moistness of the sort of meatball going, I normally soak a bit of milk, a bit of bread in milk, and then add it to it, like sort of like fricadelles as well.
Yes.
Especially if it's being cooked in a liquid, like a stew, because what tends to happen is the fat in it gets released from the actual meatball, and you lose that sort of luscious, soft, juicy texture.
Yeah. So, Chef, essentially here we are highlighting the entire week winter warmers, the things that we should all be just enjoying when it comes to the menu, what we're feeding our families, and also what we're taking to work or the kids at school. So when it comes to winter warmers, for you, what gets you so excited?
Oh, my word, geez. You know, the moment that tastes a stew or sort of hearty soup, and we grew up very, like, sort of in a poor environment, so we would use bones, meaty bones only. So there wasn't real flesh of that bones, you know.
Yeah.
It wasn't real meat. But that simple sort of cooking methods and that hearty root vegetables just put together was so so cheap to make, and it just puts me back to the old coal stove in my Oma's kitchen, and sitting this little kid up at the sort of on a stool or stoop and eating the soup or stew.
Oh, wow.
And it just gives me that warm sort of like, you know, it's like a warm hug from your Oma.
Very nostalgic, I think. That's
Absolutely,
what happens
yeah.
when we do celebrate these winter warmers. And today I love the fact, first of all, that you mentioned amatambo, a bone stew. We actually whipped up amatambo, amatambo soup on our Tuesday show. Now, Dumi, mince meat and meat balls, what are the difference? What's the difference between the two? Because I can see it as the exact same thing, it just changes the form.
Yeah, in essence, that's all it is. You're basically taking minced meat and creating balls from there. Some people call it fricadelles, some people call it meatballs. It's completely up to you. Some people make koftas out of it. So in essence, all we're doing is we're taking some mince, whether it's ground mince, whether it's beef or chicken or pork, and we're just creating these balls that we're going to fry up nicely. And one thing I need to just make sure of, I'm going to put in our oil here. I'm using Excella oil today. Palisa, like we keep saying about Excella oil, it makes sure that it doesn't change the form of whatever it is that you're cooking with. So in essence, it doesn't add on any additional flavor. Instead, it enhances the flavor of whatever it is you're cooking. So all I'm going to be doing now is heating up my oil because I want it to be a bit on the higher side, because all I want to do is get that beautiful crust on the outside of our meat, because I want to make sure that it's nice and brown. Because you also don't want those white-looking meatballs. You want to have some texture, but we also need some flavor. I don't know if you were watching our show on Tuesday, Palisa, when we were talking about the soups and stews and so forth, where we mentioned to give your stock flavor, you want to cook that meat down. So that's what, in essence, we're doing now.
Yeah.
Like that flavor base in the beginning,
Yeah.
get that caramelization going.
Correct.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, Dion, I'm very excited here as we are using Excella oil. Domi basically gave us a rundown of what makes Excella oil just so special. And for me, the standout feature, I suppose, of Excella oil is the fact that it's just light, it's clear, it's odorless, as Dumi said, and it's also suitable whether you are frying, whether you're grilling, baking, and just so much more. That neutral taste allows you to just play with anything that you're creating, enhancing the flavors in the kitchen, but making sure you get the best quality for your family.
Correct, Balisa. And I don't know if people can see what I'm doing here. I'm busy pressing onto my meatball because, Chef, you mentioned that we want to keep the moisture, but at the same time, you don't want any air pockets inside of the mince itself, the meatballs. So you want to make sure that they are, obviously, in essence, don't fall apart when they're in the pan.
Yes.
So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to just move my oil around because I want to make sure that it has that beautiful sear. And you can hear as soon as I put it in, it had that sizzle that we want. So all we're going to do now is I'm going to let these sizzle up and have that beautiful crust on the outside, and then take them out again because we want them as the base of the flavor, and then go in with the rest of our ingredients.
And Chef, you were actually speaking before we started, and she was very excited. You were very excited at the fact that we're using Excella oil because you said for this meatball stew, you need a oil that's able to go to a very high heat.
Yes, absolutely. So it's got a high burning point, and the good thing about it is you can bring it to a very high heat and get your meatballs caramelized really beautifully without it smoking or actually catching a light.
Wow.
So that's a really good thing about the oil.
Very important. And if we were to just think of other kind of dishes that we can create with that high temperature type of oil, could I think of maybe if I wanted to fry those potatoes?
Absolutely, to give it beautiful crispness, shallow frying.
Yeah.
Flapjacks, the possibilities are endless. And I mean, to me, was actually rubbing her hands in a bit of the oil as well to prevent the meatballs from sticking as well to the sort of, and getting that nice round balls as well.
Perfect. Dumi, if you can just give us a quick recap as to what went into those meatballs now that you're frying them and getting that nice golden brown color.
So, Palisa, inside here we've got our ground beef, which is our mince there. We've got some onions, some breadcrumbs, we've got some milk. We also added a bit of flavor in there. I'm going to make the stew now, which we're going to add a bit more of this. We've got some cumin in there as well. We've got some herbs, mixed herbs in there as well. So all I'm going to do now is you see the sear that is on there. It's basically done what we needed to do because it's getting the flavor that we need. So I'm going to start taking these out and start the stew part of our meatball stew.
Okay, brilliant.
Could you roast the meatballs in the oven as well? Would that work?
You definitely could, because like you mentioned, Chef, you touched on adding some liquid to the actual meatball itself, because that helps to maintain the moisture of it.
Yes.
So you definitely could at a high temperature as well. It is suggested, though, I would prefer to do them on the stove top because it
You want that flavor in there,
yeah, and you want that flavor. And then so we're going in now, basically the base of our stew, some onions, more of that flavor, yes. You can go and, Chef, chuck it in there. More of the flavor that we put into the actual meatball. I'm turning my heat down now because I'm making stew. I'm not burning the ingredients. And we're just
so the spices and flavoring that you put in the meatballs, you're adding a bit more into your actual stew base. Okay,
because you want to enhance that flavor that we're cooking in. Some of our tomatoes, as you can see, they're whole. I've left them whole because they're going to break down as they cook. So you don't have to worry about crushing them. And then in go our meatballs. I'm going to top this all up with some stock that we made that we were talking about on Tuesday. We're using chicken stock today. You can use beef stock as well to enhance the beefy flavor. And that's about it, Vanessa. We're going to let this baby cook down for about 10 to 15 minutes. And that's our meatball stew done and dusted.
So then, Chef Dion, if you were to think of a top tip when putting together a delicious, flavorful, but also juicy meatball stew, what would that top tip be?
I would obviously, like in the beginning, make sure you get enough jam-packed flavors in your meatball. And then, like I explained earlier on, use an agent that's going to keep it moist, like soaking some bread and adding it to that. Don't add too much egg as well to it because it could become too stodgy.
Yes.
Another thing is when binding your meatballs, because there's so many various types of meatballs in various different cultures around the world. Like your Swedish meatballs, for example, it's agitated so much where it becomes much more chewier when you eat it. And then you get some that are much more delicate, like the koftas that kind of break away, and your kebabs that are also quite more stiffer as well. So try not to overwork your meatballs because that makes it tough as well.
Beautiful, done, dusted. Talk about economical. Now, hopefully we've saved a buck, which means that you can comfortably head over to www.afternoonexpress.co.za for the full recipe and ingredients list for this mouth-watering dish. Yummy.